Welcome to It's All Fine and Anjee, where we talk about community, health, culture, and all of the big and little things that make life good. Here are your hosts, Dan and Anjee.
Well, hey guys, and welcome to episode 11.
And by the way, guys, we're doing this and that chit-chat over coffee.
We are. I think I just slurped right into the microphone, but I love this.
I think I like this and that chit-chat better than just this and that.
I think you should be in charge of introducing all the segments because you do it so much better than I do.
You know what I noticed going back and listening to our podcast is that I like to sing words.
Yes, you do.
I sing things.
You do. Absolutely you do.
Welcome. How's everybody's morning?
Yeah, it's good though. It's Mary Poppins-y.
I should be in a Disney movie.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Oh, that's great. So, everybody, I know you're so curious. How's that kitchen coming along? I have came home from work every day and worked on it a little bit.
You have.
And today, after we get done recording and traveling to Tampa, but when I get home from there, instead of just chilling, I'm going to work on those cabinets a little bit.
I think we're going to finish it. We may finish today.
I hope so.
And then we get to start appliance shopping. So I know we're taking people through the play-by-play, and everyone I talk to about our home renovations, like, you guys are still doing it. But hey, just for clarity, we are doing it ourselves, and we did have a contractor do a lot of the majority of the initial work that we did. But as far as converting our kitchen, when I say we are doing it, I'm talking about me, Anjee, her family, and 90% of it is really Anjee alone doing it. So picture one person.
Anjee causes disaster sometimes, though.
All this extra work.
And I had the current class 2018-2019 students from Everglades University graduated. A bunch of the people I went to school with.
That's right.
Carola and Salo and Rosaria. And those were the three that I had in a bunch of my classes, but congratulations to them. They graduated.
Indeed.
And I went and did, some volunteer work to help get everything set up and just kind of be there to support them.
Right.
And then I'll be graduating next year in May, and hopefully they get to come. Because I'll be kind of by myself.
I will definitely be there, of course, but I hope they do.
Everybody's gone that I've kind of had all the classes with, so they just started sooner than I did, so they're finishing up. So congrats to them. And then I am going to be hunkering down here. I got my outline started for my thesis, which they call a capstone at the school I go to. So I will be starting working on that for at least 2 hours a day from here until August.
As if you're not busy enough already, right?
Yep. On top of my regular classes that I still have. So
that's right.
Yeah, and everything else. But got to give a great presentation. That goes in my permanent portfolio.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I keep saying that, but you know what I mean. I agree.
That's your word. We know. So what's up with you?
I think I'm going to give up on not saying that. Well, that's very exciting. Well, real quick, just to finish up on the graduation thing. I mean, you worked really hard on this, and it's so close. So that's
so. The only thing that kind of sucks is it's delayed gratification because I'm done, and I think I give my capstone in September, which I will invite all my family members to, and friends and whoever, because you know how I am with an audience.
Oh yeah,
I work much better. And, but then I don't walk until May.
Right.
So it's like 8 months later.
It's a big delay.
It's a big delay. It kind of sucks.
Well, I mean, it's still gratification. I know what you're saying. That would be nice to.
I can plan a way bigger party then.
You know what it might be? It might actually be, you might find it to be almost a blessing because you'll get some sort of gratification just from finishing, and then you get like a second gratification later.
Yeah,
so
that's true. That's true.
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, I've been very busy with day job work. It's I won't bore everybody with the details. But
you've been productive.
That's right. Thank you.
You've been working though till 8 and 9 o'clock at night sometimes.
Yes, I have been productive, but I don't know how. I know some of the staff from my day job listen to the podcast sometime, and so I won't normally do this or really get into this, but I have an amazing team.
I know you do,
and they have been working harder than they're doing the real work. I'm just trying to organize and make sure everything's moving, and we've got some big rollouts that we're doing, and 2 regions in Canada next week, and then a couple weeks later I'll be in Chicago.
You have a lot of traveling in June.
U.S. Central, back in U.S. South, then over to the West Coast. I'll be traveling, and anyway, props to the team, and we've been very, very busy, but it's taken up a bunch of my time. So for my this and that segment, it's really just this and this, because it's just it's really been day job work has been consuming everything right now, and it's good. It's very productive, and I'm excited for what we're about to roll out here.
And we forgot to mention, this is the start of Reading and Literacy Month.
Oh, we did. Well, you know what?
We just got right into it.
I was going to do that when we introduce Steve, when we head down to meet with Steve. But yeah, this month that's a big point. And this month's theme, as I mentioned in the last sort of special episode for Winter Garden, is literacy. So we're going to focus heavily on charities that help to promote literacy for kids, adults, for the elderly, different things like being able to read to the elderly whose when you get older and your eyes are going bad, some people love to read but can't actually physically read a book anymore. Teaching kids to read, teaching adults to read, or to read better if they have a low reading level. So we're really excited, but the interviews will all be based around authors and editors and
anything to do with
books.
Yeah,
and
love it.
I'd love it too, because
this is definitely more your month.
I know, and I have a tendency to repeatedly mention that I'm not trying to plug my own books, but I also don't want to try to back away from that topic this month. So I'm just sort of letting it go, because some of it is going to be a little bit of self-promotion, but I am a total book nerd. I'm an author, so I'm super jazzed about this month. So thanks for mentioning that, because I forgot all about sort of introducing it.
Yeah, and with that in hand, we have a great giveaway for this month.
We really do. So I mentioned last month that we had an exciting one coming, but we have for our contest this month. The first prize for the contest this month is a new Kindle Fire tablet. And I know I'm kind of a techie nerd too, but this is a really nice tablet in that it's a full color 7-inch tablet. It runs the Kindle app, which is great for reading books. So it's the perfect size device for reading books. It's also, you can read like full color magazines on it and stuff. It runs Audible, so you can listen to audiobooks on it. And then it's a full-blown tablet, so you can do email and watch Netflix and YouTube and do your social media or play games or listen to music. It's got a full-blown app store. We internal to our house, we're big Apple people. We have iPads and stuff, but the Kindle tablet really impressed me. In fact, it's got Wi-Fi, Alexa.
We all have Kindles, right?
We do. Well, we have a black and white one. This is the fancier color one.
Oh, that's right.
But it's got like a front and rear facing camera, so you can do video calls.
Oh, this would be great for somebody.
It really is cool. And it's got like an 8-hour battery life. So I had another YouTube channel, the Smart Fox channel. I really don't do much with anymore, but I did some product reviews years ago. And there's a 1 or 2 generations older. We have the newer generation that we're giving away, but 1 or 2 generations older, I did a review on it. So I'll post a link to that too, because I kind of walk through it. If you're a total nerd for this stuff like me, then you might want to check it out. But it's a really nice gift.
If not, you might want to check it out because it'll show some features that maybe people don't know how to use, if they win it especially.
That's very true. Yeah, it's very, very intuitive, very easy to use. And if you have a tablet, you know what I mean? Most people do. If you don't, it's kind of like a giant phone, but you have the ability to... it's a very portable way to watch movies and do email and especially read, which is the big focus here. Yeah. And it's really great for reading books.
Cool. And what do they have to do to get it?
Well, hold on. So the first, there's going to be, we'll do first, second, and third place prizes here. So the first place prize will be you win the tablet and a free promo code for an Audible version of my first novel, In the Dark. So here's my sort of plug. But that's a $20 value for the Audible book alone. If you tie that to the Kindle, it's a $60 prize package value.
That's awesome.
A really decent value. And then second and third, there's no fourth. Second and third place prizes will be a free promo code for a free version of the audiobook of my first novel. That's In the Dark. It's got 100% positive ratings. I'm very proud of it. I'm also humbled and thankful for all the ratings. So I would love to be able to give away a few more copies of this. So I got my hands on a few more promo codes from Audible, and I want to include those in the package. So here's how you win. So we've done a post of the Kindle Fire tablet on our Facebook site, and I'll post a link to it in the show notes. But on that post, if you haven't seen it already, if you don't follow us on Facebook, all you have to do is go to that post. And again, I'll link it in the show notes. You have to tag a friend on that post in the comments. You have to like and then share the post, and you're entered in the contest. That's all you have to do. Now, optionally, you can like and follow Fine and Anjee on Facebook so that you will get more notification right away when the winner is picked. You'll also see future giveaways. We've got a lot more giveaways planned. We got to come up for a name for our prize box because
it's full of good stuff.
It really is. We've been collecting different kinds of, let's call it, gadgets or hardware, different kinds of certificates for free services in town, restaurant giveaways. So it's going to be really cool. We
want something in return, though. Well,
of course.
Just share us.
Yeah,
share
that's
us.
all.
It'd be really fun, too, is if they did include some of our hashtags that we've mentioned throughout the shows. That'd be fun.
Oh, that would be fun.
Like this month, guys, hashtag get lit or it.
Yeah.
And we're going to do hashtag readers or leaders.
Oh, that's a good one for this month too. So just for clarity, that's hashtag get literate. But the way Anjee says it, that's what all the kids say now. Get lit. So I thought that was perfect. Get literate. But so that's the prize. And that's the sort of giveaway. Again, all you have to do is go to the post that we've already done for the Kindle Fire tablet. You're going to tag a friend. You're going to like and share the post, and you are entered into the contest. So we would like for you to...
Easy breezy, guys.
Yeah. We would like for you to like and follow Fine and Anjee, but that's not required to... And
then we're going to do a drawing on June 29th.
Oh, June?
It's going to be a Saturday.
It is June 29th. Sorry.
So June 29th is when we'll do the drawing, and I think we're going to do Facebook Live it, right?
Yep. That's in the post as well. But we'll Facebook Live the drawing.
We'll give you guys reminders too.
It'll be really quick, 5-10 minute thing, but I use a randomizer application so you can see that we're not doing any favoritism. Part of the reason we'll do it on Facebook Live, but I'm excited to do the giveaways for that.
Yeah. Hey, and you can share us with more than one friend.
That's true. You can. And keep in mind too, as we're spreading awareness of our channel and of our podcast, our ultimate goal is to help the community and to help local charities. So by spreading the word, we're also reaching more people to get involved in the community, and perhaps more importantly, to get involved in charities and helping others. So that's the ultimate goal that we have. And I think that's really what we hope to gain out of these things like these giveaways, because truth be told, folks, most of these giveaways like this stuff, we buy these things. Nobody gave us this tablet. So we're really just trying to sort of help to put our money where our mouth is, so to speak, or walk the talk.
Except for the certificates and stuff, those are people we've interviewed that have graciously given us things to, help promote their business. But really with the alternative med stuff, it's to get people to come in to try something a little different that maybe they haven't tried before. So I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
So stay tuned, guys. We're going to take a short little break.
Short for them.
Yeah, we're driving to Tampa, so for our next interview.
Yep.
And we will let you know who is on when we come back from the break.
That's right. So we'll be right back, and we'll be driving for an hour and a half. So we're going to pack it up, and we will be right back after the break. Thanks, guys.
We eat very clean here at our house, but that doesn't mean that we don't crave things like chocolate chip cookies, brownies, muffins, or countless other baked goods. I can say that our cravings have been satisfied with the Paleo Bakery treats. We get to have healthier versions of our favorite sweet treats that fit into the way we eat. Things like Paleo Guiltless Donuts, organic blueberry cobbler, and almond butter delish cookies help to satisfy our sweet tooths. And here's even more great news. All of these treats are gluten, grain, dairy, and soy-free. You can find out more about what the Paleo Bakery has to offer at www.thepaleobakery.com, or check them out at Facebook at The Paleo Bakery and on Instagram at The Paleo Bakery Treats. When placing your order, make sure to tell them that you heard about their guilt-free treats from It's All Fine and Anjee.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's now time for our community call out, and this month we are continuing our month of literacy. And I have to say, as I know I've said before, as an author and a total book nerd, I am especially jazzed about this month. So, speaking of local authors, today's guest is the author of several books, including the children's collection of Gabby and Maddox books, the Lizardville ghost story books for teens, and apparently guys in their 40s, because I'm really enjoying reading that one right now myself. So please welcome Steve Altier.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So, Steve, just tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I grew up in a small town in central Pennsylvania, right in the middle of the state, a small town called Lizardville.
I told you. That's right.
Yeah, it's actually called Mill Hall, Pennsylvania, but we lived on Lizardville Road, and it had a nickname of Lizardville.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
that's kind of fun, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. My parents actually bought the old dam keeper's house.
Oh, cool.
So the dam was gone. It was broke down, and there used to be an old axe factory there.
Okay.
Wow. So this is like a recipe already for a perfect story.
It really is. An old axe factory. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I never even thought about that. But one day I was talking with an old high school mate, and the first thing he said was, how many people can say they grew up in Lizardville?
Right.
And it was like this light bulb came on, and I was like, okay, hey, that sounds like a good idea.
So that looks like what started you becoming an author. Is that kind of what made you want to become one? Like, just kind of that trigger of, oh, hey, that might make a good story. Like kind of take us through that journey.
Yeah. I'm just curious if it was like when you were younger or in reflection back on when you were younger.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a writer, but that never really happened. I did take some journalism courses in school. Mm-hmm. That was where I was going to, I wanted to be that big newspaper reporter.
Oh, so not kind of writer. So that more on local events and stories in your community or worldwide, maybe eventually, right?
Yeah, I mean that was kind of a dream, but life happens. I joined the military after high school, went overseas, got married, had kids, and never really got back to writing until probably about 7-8 years ago.
Wow.
Okay. So what sparked it? Was it that friend who said that?
No. It was actually over Christmas. My wife's family was in town, and I got sick. My mother-in-law was down here, and my father-in-law and everybody was here. So I got sick. I had this high fever running. They were all out doing stuff. I would stay home in bed, and I had this vision of these two kids, and they had to move at Christmas.
Oh, okay.
And it relates back to my company. Our company at the time, in 2010, they were moving everything up to Ohio. And they told us, we had to move there if we wanted to keep our jobs.
Oh, wow.
And it really wasn't going to happen, because I didn't want to move up north. So that was playing on my mind. And this dream with being sick, the kids just in this story were like devastated. They had just written their letters to Santa Claus. Aww. And they came back, and Dad comes home and he says, I'm going to have to move. The whole family, we're going to have to move at Christmas time, and we're going to be moving up north to Ohio. And I was like, everything was so vivid in the dream.
So that fever really got your creativity going, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's crazy how that works. It's like a blessing in disguise.
So, after I started to feel better, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to write a story. And she's like, oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah. Sure you are.
You're doing it. She's like, okay.
We had been married for several years, and I had no real interest in books anymore. I just kind of lost all of it.
Yeah.
And this
just life kind of
sparked everything for me.
Yeah.
And I started writing, and I think the one night she came to me, she's like, who are you talking to on the internet? And I'm like, I'm not, I'm writing.
Oh, that was all your typing.
Yeah. She thought I was chatting with somebody online or something, But several months later, there it was. I mean, my story was down on paper, and
how long did it take you to write the first draft?
God, I don't really remember. Probably about 2 months.
Oh, wow.
You just put that right down on the paper, buddy.
Yeah, you really did.
I was so inspired. I mean, I wrote every evening. I'd come home from my day job, and I spent the evening writing.
So tell the truth. Do you still write that often?
No.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I wish I could, but I think I struggle to squeeze it in sometimes.
I recently went to a big writing conference, and they told me there you have to allot time for it.
Yeah, every day?
They prefer it. There's some that, there was a lot of New York Times bestselling authors there. They all had a different philosophy.
Right.
Some work Monday through Friday.
Yep.
And they give the weekends free because that's family time.
Okay, when you say work, you mean they're writing Monday through Friday?
Well, yeah, they do it full time.
I got you.
Oh, those are full-time writers, yeah.
For someone like myself, I had the privilege of meeting Helen Hart. She is a big-time romance writer.
Right, yep.
So when I talked with her after her speech and stuff, she gave me some ideas of sprinting. And she said, I challenge you to write 5,000 words on Saturday and 5,000 on Sunday.
I love that. I bet there's apps that do that will tell you when you've reached your goal.
Well, and she told me, what she does is called sprinting.
Right.
So she will sit down and she will write for 20 minutes. She'll set a timer and she will write for 20 minutes. Just
write. That's not the time set aside to think about what you're going to write. That's just do it.
Yes.
Go for it.
Sit down and type.
Wow.
And then she said she'll take like a 10-minute break and then come back in 20 more minutes.
Wow.
And
it's like a little challenge against yourself,
Sure.
So you're in competition with yourself almost.
Yeah, to me, you'd have to have some thoughts ironed out pretty good unless you just kind of see what's stuck afterwards.
Well, and again, you're writing your first draft. So everything that you do on your first draft doesn't really matter because there's a lot of things that you're going to say, I want to enhance this, and this is garbage.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just like you have a topic maybe that's been on your mind and she's just saying, go ahead and just start getting the ideas on the paper because you might take those ideas and rearrange them
But you're moving.
Yeah.
You're moving.
But you're getting the words down.
That's great advice.
Because isn't there so many writers that have these drafts sitting around that never became a book or ones that 10 years down the road become a book, right?
Absolutely.
But if they never had put it on paper, wouldn't it have became anything? So I think she has a very good point in that. It's getting those ideas that are in there, even if a piece of that you write down goes to another story totally.
Yeah.
At least it's down.
I love that. There's a saying, and I know I'm going to butcher it here, but it's something like done is better than perfect. Because even in every business, if you're sitting there trying to cross every T and dot every I, you won't get off dead center, and it'll take you, years and years to get any movement. So I love that. I'm sure you got a lot of good sort of feedback and advice from that conference.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and you mentioned that quote. Stephen King always had a quote, and I believe it was something like, "The worst manuscript was the one not written."
Oh, that's another good quote. Yeah.
So I have a question. Did you get those 5,000 words down each day?
No.
Oh, busted.
That's a lot of words in one day, though. I mean, that really is.
I mean, even if you just start and then you're at 1,000, you're like, okay, 1,000 took me 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, and then kind of you can go from there. At least you have like a starting point to see, okay, how many words can I actually get down in that amount of time?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty hefty goal of 5,000 in what'd she say, in a day? Yeah.
That's inspiring, though. I mean, or it's something to aspire to, I guess I should say.
Yes.
So I'm going to change gears a little bit, but you started talking about how you grew up in Lizardville. No spoilers about the story, of course. And full disclosure, I'm only a little ways into the book, but I'm curious, without ruining anything, can you tell us kind of how you went I guess I'm a little curious about the real Lizardville. I mean, a little more about the town. And did you find, were there stories that you heard as a kid about the town that kind of inspired you to inject them into the story? Or is it purely just based on your sort of reimagining? Because I thought I read that you were initially thinking about writing a story about your childhood.
Correct.
And then you decided to add like a supernatural element to it. Right?
That is correct.
So how much can you tell us about the real Lizardville without ruining the story?
Well, the real Lizardville, when I was a kid, we used to get up in the mornings and, in the summers, weekends, we would go camping. We spent a lot of time fishing. There was several of us boys in the area. Small town.
Right.
Not very big. And that's what we did. We hung out, we camped, we fished and things like that. There was a motorcycle shop that wasn't far away, and we would go up there. And actually, when they unpacked the motorcycles, back in the 70s, they used to come in these big styrofoam crates.
Wow.
That were 6, 8, 10 inches thick and, 3 or 4 feet wide. So we would go up there and actually take those. They'd throw them out back the building. We would take them and we would
like
go
a fort.
out. Yeah, exactly. But we would take them out and we would go to the river.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that. I knew that was coming.
and we would float on those things.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Sounds like what I did like for tubing in the snow. We used to take, because we were poor, we used to take the tops off of trash cans, the round ones, and that was our thing.
That's great.
So same, as soon as you said that, I'm like, no, they went to the river. They fished off those or something.
Yeah. It's like a whole Huck Finn vibe kind of thing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, so I started writing Lizardville as kind of I wanted to write my childhood experiences, what it was like growing up in a small town, the camaraderie with, just a group of young boys and the camping and some of the stories we shared, because we've had run-ins with bears and porcupines and things like that.
Totally relatable.
Ooh, exciting childhood.
And it was great. But when I started to put it all on the paper, it just seemed boring.
Okay.
So I went back through and it's like, okay, I've got to add something, and so I started typing all this stuff about, crows and scary stuff and ghosts. And there was an old legend of an axe factory murder because there used to be remnants of an axe factory there.
Yeah.
In fact, on the cover of the original Lizardville ghost story is the 1904, a picture from 1904 that we found from the Pennsylvania Historical Society.
Of the Axe Factory.
Cool.
It's a picture of the axe factory.
And so maybe it's just my sort of...
and then you have some crows on there, so that makes it even scarier. Because anytime you see crows around, you're like, something's not good.
Right.
Something's not right here.
And maybe it's because I have a tendency to sort of go a little towards the more macabre side of things when when the opportunity presents itself. But as soon as you said axe factory, I think before we started recording, I thought, oh, that's definitely like an axe murder thing going on there. So that's interesting. So there was the actual axe factory, and is it still there?
No, it's gone.
And the whole building is gone?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is there a McDonald's in its place?
No.
Oh, that's a good question.
Or a CVS. It's got to be one of the two, I swear.
No. Actually, I took my family up there, my wife and I, my youngest daughter, she's 19 in college, but we went up there last summer. We went on up to Niagara Falls, and then we worked our way back down into Pennsylvania.
So it's cool to do that, right? It's cool to just kind of wander around and see what has changed so much. Has a lot changed there, or is it still kind of that small town feel? It's
a small town feel. It's more of a ghost town.
Is it?
Oh,
so that's another story.
So your stories have made that come true, maybe?
I don't know.
So when you say ghost town, you mean like businesses and everything's kind of moved away?
Yeah, we've had a lot of that up there. Some of the factories have closed up.
Right.
But I mean, there's some other towns close by that are thriving and things like that.
Oh,
so
wow.
There's still stuff going on. It's just
that town.
It's not the childhood I used to remember.
Oh, that's disappointing. Well,
do you find a lot of the same families are living in that town, or have most of those that you kind of grew up with, have they moved on as well? Because a lot of times you'll have people that really just don't ever want to relocate and they stay.
Yeah. Apopka. I'm from Apopka, and it's thriving, but it's not as remote. But a lot of families have been there for generations.
Yeah, I mean, most of the guys I went to school with are still there.
Oh really?
Wow.
And they're raising families. And same area.
And now they've traded in their they use kayaks instead of.
So I take it back about being disappointing.
They've also grown up a little bit, so I don't know if the styrofoam would work.
Yeah, true.
Maybe it'd be fun to watch.
I'm not even sure they pack.
I was going to say. I bet they don't show up like that.
I never knew
anymore.
that. That's pretty interesting.
That is.
But styrofoam's not good anymore for the environment.
Oh,
so we don't want to go there.
and actually, I mentioned that in the book because when we were kids, when we were done with them, we just let them float.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they just
I mentioned that in the story. It's like, okay, the environmentalists would probably, cringe at that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they would.
I'm sure they all ended up somewhere.
All right. So you have a brand new Lizardville title out, and it's Jimmy's Curse.
Yes.
So is this a continuation from the original Lizardville book? Are you doing a series, or is this just a brand new story?
This is the second book in the series, and it's the final book. I originally wrote Lizardville, the ghost story, as a standalone story. It was never meant to be a series. I had a lot of feedback from fans that they kept coming back and saying, what about this? You never touched on that. You never answered this.
They wanted those. Open. Yeah, they wanted those answered.
So I went back and started rethinking some things, come up with a brand new, fresh story, and it's been too long in the making. But it's finally coming out June 11th. It'll be hit the markets.
All right.
Fantastic.
June 11th.
So you'll have to tell at the end of the interview here, we'll get all your information, website, contact info. We'll post it on our website, but it'll also be, if you're listening to this on your device now, the link to all of Steve's information will be in the show notes. You can just scroll down and click on it.
Yeah. Easy breezy.
Thank you.
Right. So what's next? Since this is it for Lizardville, any plans for, you got any ideas in the head? Any notes, little notes on the paper?
Already working on another one.
All right, perfect.
Wow.
Any ideas?
It's called The Ghost Hunter.
Okay.
And there are a few hints in Lizardville, Jimmy's Curse. There's a character that the boys have to go to the library to do some research. They find a couple books by an author called Gerald Dupickle.
That's a great name. You can't forget that name ever.
Sure.
So the Ghost Hunter kind of goes back predating Lizardville. Same
cool.
town, but Lizardville name is not associated with the book. But it's just going to be the Ghost Hunter. Gerald Dupickle is a young, smart, intelligent guy who's 16 years old and going to college.
Oh, wow.
Right.
And he's very awkward and he's not antisocial, but he's socially clumsy, I should say.
Okay.
Right.
And he never fits in. So when he gets to college, he wants to fit in so bad. And he's sitting in the library one night and a group of young boys come in and girls, and they're ghost hunters. That's what they do. And it inspires him to prove to them that science doesn't believe in ghosts.
Oh, because he's the smart one of the bunch.
Yeah, so he needs proof.
Yeah.
And this book takes off from there. And
I love
that
it.
sounds interesting.
It's a great premise thing.
Rachel, his daughter would love that book.
Oh, she probably would.
But it's great that you're kind of giving your audience or your readers a little hint to want to know more about this character, it seems like.
Yeah. Like I said, the first time you hear his name is in Lizardville's Jimmy's Curse.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I like. I like that you are completing those unanswered questions from the first book. As a reader and a fan of stories and an author, but especially as a reader and a fan of stories, it's frustrating to me when there's a lot of things left unanswered. So that's great. That's exciting. So you've got a wide range of audiences with your books between the Gabby and Maddox. And for some reason, I keep getting tongue-tied when I say Gabby and Maddox. But between those and the Lizardville books, you've kind of explained now that the book that you wrote first was the Gabby and Maddox book, the Moving on Christmas book, right?
Yeah, We Can't Move at Christmas was the first story I wrote.
Right.
And then about a year later, my wife and I were blessed, and we were able to go over to Italy for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
I took a lot of notes. We came back to the hotel every night exhausted. And I took a lot of notes while I was there. And so she'd get in bed and sleep, and I would sit at the computer and type away.
That's awesome.
So there was a lot of fun facts in there, plus the kids and their imagination. I used the same premises. The dad comes home. He says, I have to go to Italy for a couple of weeks to work with some new clients over there. But I want the family to go with me. Yeah. You guys have a vacation.
Yeah. So that was kind of a series. So that was cool. Kind of.
Each one's a standalone story. It's kind of like the Magic Treehouse stories.
Oh, yeah. I totally remember those. Yeah.
They're great little stories. I tried to write good, wholesome family stories with good morals and values in them.
And it sounds like you've taught the kids something too, because if you were taking notes over in Italy, you were trying to refer to probably architecture or the history and stuff like that. So they actually learned something from the book. So that's
there's
cool.
a lot of fun facts about Italy in there.
Yeah, that's great. I love when kids can actually read a book that seems like it's not teaching them anything, but they actually learned something. Yeah, I think that's important.
And that book actually done very well. Even in Europe, it did well.
It sold
very well in Europe.
Oh, that's excellent.
And I've had a lot of Italian websites listing the book and stuff like that. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that was very smart of you also to think of that while you're on vacation. That's truly an inspired writer to think when you're on vacation, what can I get from this vacation that I can put into a story?
Yeah, yeah. Well, when we're on vacation, you write.
It's true.
So
I can relate. Surely that teased me because I'm out by the pool with my iPad typing away.
Yeah, but I think you're in a different environment. I think spurs creativity,
right,
as well.
Oh, absolutely. There was so much stuff over there that just I was taken back.
Yeah, and plus, even though you were busy, because when you're in some place like that, you want to see everything, right? You want to explore, but you're also relaxed because you don't have those daily life worries, that you would at home, So I think that's a good place to write.
Yeah, really. I agree. Well, as Steve here is describing, the town of Lizardville and the interactions with animals in the woods, and I'm sitting here thinking of a story myself. So I totally agree. Just different environments kind of make you. I think as an author, they kind of make you think. Yeah. I know even when I'm driving around, sometimes I'll go. If I see something, or I'll go, I wonder what that looked weird when I just passed. And in my head, I start building some scenario that surely isn't the real scenario.
Or the name of a road that's weird, or, just things like that. But I do have a question. So you mentioned that you went back to Pennsylvania with your wife and your daughter and went to the old town. Was that after all the books were written or before? Because I was wondering if you went back to kind of get some more inspiration before writing the books.
That's a great question. Yes, I did go back for more inspiration because I was in the middle of writing Lizardville, Jimmy's Curse.
And I knew that because I follow you on Facebook and I saw your pictures at Niagara Falls. So when you said that, the timing timing worked out.
That's what I was wondering. Because sometimes things that we remember from when we were younger, did we remember it right? So being there kind of triggers or sparks something where it's like, oh, yeah, okay, it wasn't like this, it was like this, okay. So that's cool.
So I have a question, sort of between the Gabby and Maddox books and the Lizardville books, that's a different audience group. So what made you kind of want to target two different groups that way?
Well, that's a great story. I had just released Blast Off, which was the third book in the Gabby and Maddox story.
Right, that's the one in space, right?
Yeah, because I'm a sci-fi junkie.
Same.
So I had to write a space book.
Oh, of course.
And, the kids come down to visit, they come back to Florida to visit Grandma and Grandpa. They find out that Grandpa is part of this astronaut program. And there's a secret program called the Children's Astronaut Program.
Oh, nice.
So the kids get to go up into outer space. He sends them up to the International Space Station. They go out on a routine mission. Their spaceship gets lost. They stumble across aliens.
Oh, wow.
And go to they meet a little guy, and they go to a planet called Ubatuba.
Ubatuba. Love it.
Which
you sound like you had so much fun with these books. It's like, oh my gosh, like writing a story for kids. It just sounds like you had so much fun.
Yeah. I did. And Ubatuba, when we were out, we remodeled our kitchen.
Right.
And when we were out looking at the countertops,
right,
my wife had found this black galaxy that she liked, but I was fixed. They kept saying, "Hey, check this out over here. It's kind of a green tint and black, and it's called Ubatuba." And I'm like,
perfect.
I love it.
See, that's funny because now there was something that happened around you. And you're like, oh yeah, I need this somewhere in my life.
That is so smart to remember these things like that.
But you didn't get it in the kitchen, right?
No, we didn't use that in the kitchen.
Yeah, you were outvoted on that one.
Yeah, happy wife, happy life. She wanted black. We went with the black galaxy.
You went with.
Hey, it's space themed still. How about that?
That's right. That's really cool story. So I love that.
To get back to answering your question, I was over at Barnes & Noble here in one of the local Tampa area.
Right.
And there was an author next to me. He had on his cover a big helmet, swords, things like that. He actually had a medieval helmet on his table next to his books.
Oh, wow.
And I had a few boys, probably about 7, 8, 9 years old, come up to me. They looked at my books and he goes, "Oh, man, that's childish. Can you write something better?"
Oh, nice. Oh. Kids. Kids are brutal.
Yeah, they are.
But they're honest. Hey.
So I came home and I was telling my wife, I said, that's it. I want to write something a little more challenging.
Yeah.
And it was the same time frame, probably within a week or two after that I was talking with a friend, and they said, how many people can say they grew up in Lizardville?
Right.
And that's when it went off. Like, I'm going to write my childhood story.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
It just, Yeah, I had to add something
off.
different because when I was done with it, I was like, this is boring. No one wants to hear about my life.
Right.
But when you throw in the paranormal aspects, some of the history involving around Lizardville,
right.
it really plays pretty well.
Well, I'm going to find out as I go through and finish the book, but I would think that the supernatural sort of stuff that you made up combined with those real life things, not just the history, but the things that, I guess, your history, the things that happened to you guys growing up there, sounds like, I'm picturing like Scooby-Doo or something, but it sounds really interesting to me. So I'm looking forward to finishing the book. And I'll let you know what I think.
Okay, well, I look forward to that. Actually,
write a review.
Oh, of course.
When my wife, when she was reading the manuscript, because when I'm done with it, she's the first one. And she's reading it, and every night it was like, did this happen? Did that happen? Was this real? Was that real?
Oh, nice. Well, see, you know what? That's a great sign, though, because you're blending it so well that you don't know. You have to ask.
And you've been married to her for a long time, right? Yeah. So she should have known all the stories. So the fact that she was asking was good because it's like, I don't know that one. What's going on? Oh, yeah. That's really cool.
I love it when the way an author writes, just as my personal favorite stuff. I love it when you cannot tell when they've left fact and moved to fiction. This is just my favorite. It's one of my favorite stuff. So
you talked about being at your local Barnes & Noble.
Yes.
And so you're very active in the local author community. I mean, that's where we first met you.
Yes.
Down here. And you go to the things like the book fairs and events. Can you give us a little more detail around that and maybe any advice that you might have for new authors or upcoming authors?
It's a lot of hard work.
Yes.
It is
It's grueling and it's time consuming. And I recently was invited to go to a school and speak with a bunch of 4th and 5th graders. And they had a lot of questions in regards to books and writing and things like that. And as I tried to tell them, it's something that you have to be inspired to do. I mean, I've always wanted to tell my stories. Mm-hmm. And I know it's, a writer does their stuff alone. It's just what we do. We sit in an empty room by ourselves and usually write. J.K. Rowling, she writes in a cafe shop. That's not me,
She likes the noise. She likes the hustle behind her.
Yeah. And, so I talked with this 4th and 5th grade class, and some of the things that I tried to instill in them is if you want something bad enough, you have to make it happen. It's not just going to happen yourself. So it's a lot of work involved. I'm trying to get out there more on the tours and trying to, I think I found my niche last year when I went to Sci-Fi Bartow. That was a fun event over here.
Can you tell me what that is? Because I have no idea.
I don't know what that is either, so I'm curious.
So every year in February, the city of Bartow closes off their downtown, and they have all kind of vendors come in, and they actually turn the whole town into sci-fi. They have a theme. So last year's theme
was... Now, I would even like that.
Yeah. Last year's theme
I'm writing this down, actually. Go ahead.
Yeah, last year's theme was steampunk.
Oh, I love
it too.
So everyone was all dressed up in all kind of costumes. We saw,
amazing.
Just all kind of characters. I met Spider-Man, Ant-Man, even Marty McFly came back.
This is right up our alley.
This is
we've
awesome.
Got to go to this.
And it was only like $60 for the day to be there. So it was a great day for those that, let me rephrase that. For vendors, it was like $60 to be there.
Sure.
Yes.
For anybody else, it was free.
Yeah.
You just come and have a great time, enjoy the show. They have
get some great pictures, right?
The Hanging with the Web show does live podcast there.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
So there's other podcasts
there. Well, I'm all about cross-promoting anyway, for sure. And just a little sort of side note for that for a minute, but we talked a little bit about this, but we've talked on the podcast before about we promote other podcasts. I feel like there's enough success and enough, I don't believe in a lack of success. I don't feel like your success takes away from my success. So I firmly believe in authors cross-promoting each other, supporting each other. Same thing with podcasts. Same thing with everyone.
It's a community.
But I'm super interested in going to that next time. What month did you say it was in February?
February.
They do it normally February every
year. And
it's a one-day thing, a weekend thing?
Yeah, it's a one-day.
Oh, it's a one day?
They have a Friday night program.
Right.
But the vendor and the main event is Saturday.
And you say that was like your niche, meaning that you went as a vendor and it was the right kind of audience for the books, or?
Yeah, Lizardville done extremely well over there. We sold shirts. We've always got the book swag going.
Cool.
We have the Lizardville Ghost Story shirts.
Nice.
We have, the Lizardville Ghost Story, and now we're going to have the second one coming out this year, so that'll be great.
Excellent.
So when you do your shirts, do you do them a little differently than like the book cover? Do you get a little more creative with them?
Yeah, actually, my wife's going to go get one right now to show you. And
oh, yeah, that'll be cool.
I want to get one from you before we leave.
Oh, yeah, can we buy one of those?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. But so I really had a great time there. I think the audience was full of energy. Those are right up my alley. They like the supernatural stuff.
I love it.
And they sound like they're just having fun, and you seem like you have a lot of fun.
Yeah. This year's theme for 2020 is going to be mythological creatures, things like that.
Oh, my gosh, like Medusa.
Or mermaids.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
I already have a mermaid costume. Hey,
wow.
I'm just saying.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to being there again. I'm also, we've been looking at expanding out of state. So we're looking at the Savannah Comic-Con next year. We're looking at the Lakeland Comic-Con and Tampa Comic-Con coming up in August.
Yeah, because your book is definitely, that is your audience. That is your audience. So I think that would be perfect. Now, so any ideas? So your new book, your new idea of your book that's coming out, tell me the name. It's Gerald Dupickle?
Gerald Dupickle is the main character.
Okay.
But the book's called The Ghost Hunter.
Is that more teen read kind of?
Yes.
Okay.
Same vein as the other Lizardville book.
Yes.
I know it's not a Lizardville book for clarity, but same target audience, right?
Yeah, it's that 8 to 10-year-old group.
Okay.
And I'd say 8 to 10 and up.
It. Yeah,
8 to 10 and up.
Yeah, because I will, I haven't started reading this yet, but this was probably I like those kind of reads. You know what I mean?
My intention was to be it's been so crazy busy, but I've only gotten maybe a couple chapters into it, but I am enjoying it so far. So that's why I made this sort of not really a joke about 40 heading to 50-year-old men enjoying it. Because I think I struggle sometimes understanding that age group reading when I'm reading it, and I enjoy it just as much. So it's an enjoyable read, I think, for adults too.
So do you have any future intent on writing a book that's geared more for adults?
I do have some ideas.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it was just that's a weird question, I'm
not gonna talk about them a lot.
Because here's the thing: you have you've got the younger, now you got the middle, the middle, and maybe some older, and then
get all age groups. Yeah,
maybe a romance novel. I'm just saying.
No. Nothing's wrong with the romance novels. Just saying.
Yeah,
but I think there might be enough.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of competition out there. So, speaking of romance novels, what are your personal favorite genre of books to read?
Young adult.
Yeah, it is young adult.
He's
that's
the same as me.
Anjee too.
So I love dystopia type reads. I loved The Hunger Games.
The Maze Runners.
The Maze Runner.
Oh, I loved The Maze Runner.
Why can't I think of the other one that I love?
It's kind of like The Hunger Games. I forget what it's called now.
Never mind. Skip it.
Oh no, I got to think of it. It's going to
Divergent.
Divergent. Oh look, he's got the axe.
Oh, this is great stuff.
They just brought an axe prop in here for us. That's excellent.
I'm currently reading Sarah J. Maas. She wrote like an 8-book series.
So that's heavy fantasy type stuff then, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I mean, I love her. I mean, The Throne of Glass was her first novel.
Right.
I'm reading the second book called Crown of Midnight. And
nice.
I love the medieval times. I mean, this is about an 18-year-old girl. She's an assassin. She is probably the most feared assassin in the land.
Oh wow.
But there's secret passageways. There's castles.
I love that stuff too. My first awesome. Real novel ever read in my life. I was in the 6th grade. I picked it up from the book fair in the library. Was The Hobbit, which of course launched me into Lord of the Rings, which launched me into like the Dragonlance books, which launched me into years and years of reading Robert Heinlein, Douglas Adams, all the the big sci-fi stuff. So and sci-fi and fantasy stuff. So I can definitely relate.
I can't. Well, I did not read in high school. You know what? But unless it was assigned to me. And then I struggled through that and wanted to kill everybody in my path.
I love reading.
I didn't get into it until I was older.
Sure.
And actually downloaded it on an iPad.
Right.
And read like the Hunger Games series, and I'm like, I love this.
Yeah.
I love this. Then I found the Divergent series, and I that's my niche. That is the kind of reads I like.
So you guys are both sort of young adult novel. Those are your favorites. I think for me, it changes as I go, but probably for the past maybe 10 or 15 years, I don't even know how to categorize it, but like Chuck Palahniuk Fight Club kind of stuff. Before I Go to Sleep, Girl on the Train, whatever that genre is. I guess it's sort of like thriller, mystery, maybe. But I do like young adult stuff, so I kind of switch around. I like biographies.
Yeah.
Do you find that you read mostly just young adult these days? Is it?
No, I like, and you mentioned The Girl on a Train.
Yeah.
I read a lot of Ruth Ware.
Oh, okay. Same vein of stories.
Yeah, and those are what I like to call psychotic thrillers.
That's it.
Okay.
Psychological, psychotic thrillers. Yes.
Yeah,
and it always seems to be the same thing. There's a drunk woman who drinks too much. She
Doesn't remember.
What she remembered.
Why is it always a drunk woman? Okay, let's get a grip here, people. Okay, the guys can be drunk and forget.
We're not as
things, too.
interesting when we're drunk. It's not, it's not worth a book. It's not worth reading. That's funny.
Is true.
So you're versatile with it, but this is the other sort of, I guess, pickle I find myself in when I have time to read. I feel like I should be writing. Do you feel the same, or do you make time for both?
I make time for both.
Oh, good for you.
I like to write in the morning.
Yeah.
I like to write in the afternoons if possible.
Right.
But I like to read at night.
So that's like your entertainment
Yes.
in place of where people are.
At 10 o'clock, you
Yeah.
know, my wife likes to go to bed early.
Right.
You know, she requires more sleep than I do. That's fine.
Yeah.
And,
Me too.
you know, she wants to go to
That's a
bed
good
around
match.
10 o'clock. And
Yeah.
10 o'clock, I sit down over there in my little reading spot and I read my book.
Well,
So
that's
you have a
perfect.
designated spot. That's great.
Yes. And
Is this your chair over here?
Yes, I'm not Sheldon Cooper,
Oh.
but that is my spot.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Oh,
There's something to
Sheldon
be
with that
said,
spot.
though. There's something to be said for like a comfort zone, I think, for reading and for writing. So when you get in your little groove and it just works better, you can focus better. So I'm totally with you on that. For
So
sure.
I can already tell you are you like the physical book like I do.
Yes.
I mean, I do read, like when we go to the beach or something, I don't like to take the book because I get oil all over it and stuff
Yeah.
like that, unless it's something I've had for a long time and it's very worn out.
Sure.
But so then I like my Kindle.
Yeah.
It used to be the iPad in bed at night.
I'm guilty
but that's
of
a little
that.
too bright.
Well,
but but I like a physical book. I do.
Yeah.
I still do. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. I just
I
want
do
it.
too. But I hate to say this as an author too, because I make such a small amount of money on ebook versus print. But I prefer ebooks. If it's on like a black and white device, like the old school Nooks or Kindles, I don't know why. I think because
You're very techie though, so I think
Well,
that
true.
just kind of goes along.
But
with it.
also, I can have all my books with me. So if I go on a trip or something and I change my mind in mid-book, or I don't know, I feel it's an OCD thing maybe, but I like that if I switch gears and I'm in the middle of Crown of Midnight and I want to switch over to Lizardville, I don't have to bring a bag of books with me. So there's something to be said for that too. Though I do still love going to bookstores. I love the smell of books and the vibe of a bookstore. I just bring my ebook reader in there.
So do you guys still have the Barnes and Noble down here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
plenty of them in the area.
Yeah, because
Yes.
we still have the Barnes and Noble, but we've had like the Books A Million closed,
Yeah.
and I feel like there was such a niche that they could have downsized a little bit and made it into this really cool kind of coffee shop.
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
there's a resurgence in print right
little,
now.
Little
Yes.
nooks you could go and hide in to do
Sure.
your reading. I just feel like they could have.
Well, Barnes and
there was
Noble,
such
a lot of Barnes and Nobles are still like that. There's a bunch of little, like there's the one in Altamont where we live is, there's like a little section for kids, but there's all these little spots where you can sit. There's a cafe and a coffee shop. And as I was just saying, print books are sort of on the rise and ebooks are either flatlining or declining in sales a bit right now. So it's almost like the trend of reading digitally is passing for most avid readers. And
Well, if you look at the generation now, though, there's a lot of the things that
Retro.
are retro that
Yeah.
are coming back, and books are considered retro to them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
so to that age group, so that is coming back. Like vinyl records are coming
Sure.
back. There's all these really cool things that we got to experience that now this generation is experiencing. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. So that's good for you guys, right?
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely. And seeing Steve's stack of books here makes me think maybe my next read will be in paper just to throw it back, see how that goes.
So your youngest is in college.
Yeah, she'll be a sophomore now. Yeah, she graduated.
Okay.
It was the first year, and she just finished her first year.
So when they were younger, did you force them to read or encourage them to read? Like, what were the rules around the house outside of school?
Well, unfortunately, I never really had a chance to. I was divorced at the time, so a lot of my kids, they're older. I had them on the weekends, so I didn't get a lot of time with them.
So time was valued then, and it was fun time. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was more fun time. My youngest daughter, who is 19, she's an avid reader. She's a writer.
Cool.
She's fantastic. She's written. She just completed her first manuscript, and I find it awesome. It's right in that mythological realm.
Oh, that's excellent.
Very
Is
cool.
she publishing?
She is holding off.
Oh, she is. Okay.
What's causing her to do that?
She doesn't want anyone to she doesn't want an editor looking at her stuff and trying to dissect it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So,
getting started. That's
That's fair.
understandable
Yeah.
for sure.
And it goes back to I believe his name. Yeah, it was Michael Crichton. And,
One of my absolute favorites of all time.
yeah, and I remember an interview that he done on TV, and they asked him about Jurassic Park.
Yep.
And it was a second or third book. Or he had written 2 books, and it was like the second or third movie. They asked him, what do you think about what they've done to your story?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, why should I care? I got my money.
Right.
Yeah.
So I try to tell that to my daughter, and I try to let her know, listen, your book is different than a movie.
Yeah.
And it's your story. Yeah. And, like when I work with my editor, I mean, it's a 3-month process usually, and, they make suggestions, but my editor reminds me it is my story.
Yeah, I think, and it's important to find an editor that you sync up with, the synergy is good.
Yes, I agree
they're
with
not
that.
just there to just, run through your story. They want to feel some kind of connection to the story when they read it.
Yes.
And
they want to talk to you about the story as a story, not just as another project.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's important. But that's exciting that she's kind of following.
It really is. Well, I asked because I wanted to
footsteps.
read it or plug it, but you'll have to keep us posted on that if she ends up deciding to get it published.
Yeah, and I don't even want to mention the title that she's chosen.
I
because
totally understand. I wouldn't either. Yeah.
I don't know where she's going with that.
Of course. Yeah. Well, keep us posted. That's exciting. That's great.
Yeah.
Keep encouraging her, That sounds awesome.
It really does.
So our whole theme is literacy. And with this podcast, what we really started it for was to get more involved in the community, like to get us just involved, stepping outside of our comfort zone and getting involved with charities, local events, supporting local businesses, authors, just people, basically helping other people. So we always like to ask, are there any organizations or charities or events that you specifically like to be involved in or look forward to participating in once a year
or even
regularly?
Just mention to get the word out.
Well, there's there's 2 things I like to do. One, I'm an avid pet lover, so my wife and I both love cats. We like
have
to do
a few around
cats.
here.
You may have heard them if you're listening. Yeah.
They're so cute.
Yeah, we do rescue cats, and so we're strong and advocates for helping animals.
Love it.
Yeah,
that's
me
something
too.
we really like to do, and we work with the SPCA and stuff and donate to them.
Oh, cool.
I just recently found out about a program called the Kids Place.
Okay.
And it's for abused children. And there's one here. It's only a few miles from my house. And I'm working with them. They just got about 25, 30 copies of my books that we got over to them that we donated. And that's something that I wanted to do. And the woman one of the ladies that I work with, she used to be the owner of the company. She actually paid for them. For the books to be there. So.
Oh, that's great.
And we're also throwing a big bill. She's footing the bill for that, but I'm going to be there to help with that. We're going to have a big picnic for the kids and stuff.
Oh, it's great. That's great.
They've got about 60 kids. They've got 5 homes. They have foster parents there that live on the premises.
That's what I was going to ask.
With these kids.
Wow.
And they go to regular public schools, and then they come home and have a real family life. So
this is great.
It's great. It's a program that I've just recently found out about, so I'm really excited about getting more involved with that group.
Yes.
So maybe we could get some information following the show from you so we can put a link to that and figure out how we and others might be able to donate just even funds to help with the.
Yeah, and I believe it's 100%. They operate off donations only, I believe.
That's amazing. That's the kind of stuff we want to get more involved in and bring more attention to because what we have found is a lot of these people that are helping like that in their community, they don't do a lot of advertising and stuff because they're so focused on just helping to improve the life and give people hope and just help, that there's not marketing or anything for that.
There's a lack of resources for that sometimes. So that's where I feel like we can definitely
And this is
help.
where word of mouth comes in and really getting people. At the end of our show, we always try to leave a little encouragement for people of how are they going to make a change today? What is it you're going to do today to make a change? Yeah. It can be the simplest thing. It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be the simplest thing, though.
But it doesn't. If you want it to be big, make it big. But just do something. Let's just do something to make some kind of positive impact on somebody else's life. So this is great. We love hearing that you're doing that.
So we'll definitely put a link in there for that. Yeah. That's called the Kids Place, and there should be a link in the show notes if you're listening, or at findandanjee.com. I'm always fascinated with the process that authors go through when they write, how some write it down on like a bar napkin ideas they have. Some map out these ridiculous charts, which is kind of what I do. Some do it strictly out of their brain. If you look at like the Harry Potter series is always fascinating to me because J.K. Rowling drew what to me looks like a handmade Excel spreadsheet for the series of Harry Potter books and the years and the events. What is your process for putting a story together? You mentioned how when you're traveling, you remember names or write them down, and you showed us before we started recording your little black book that you keep notes in. But what's the process of sort of building a story and then converting that process into print?
I recently went to a big writing conference out in Dallas, Texas called Inkers Con. And there was just a lot of great authors out there, all New York Times bestsellers, USA Today bestsellers. And it was hosted by Alessandra Torre, and she's a 6-time New York bestselling author.
Oh, amazing.
And I was fascinated with every different author has a different style, a different method. And
yes, that's what's fascinating to me about it.
Yeah. And I realized there, and the first time I'd ever heard it was a pantser. And I'm like, what is a pantser? So it's an author who basically flies by the seat of his pants, and that's me. So now I come up with an idea sometimes, and I carry my notebook around, and I have a larger notebook that I keep my ideas in. And usually it's something will spark something in me, and I'll start to write out, like, just take some notes. I want to write, I know how I want the story to begin. And I have a middle to it, someplace like a climax point, and then there's a downfall side to it, and then there's another that I know how I want it to finish. A lot of things in the middle come to me as I'm writing,
right?
And that's the pantser part of me. Is like when I was writing the very first Lizardville ghost story, there's a scene in there where the kids go to a store. And something happens in the store, and I throw in some good moral family values in there. The kid kind of ducks into the back office to be hidden out of sight, and there's all this money on the table. And does he take it?
Right.
Or does he? And he remembers what Dad always told him. You don't take things that aren't yours. So, and then he leaves it alone. He comes back out into the store, and then the owner of the store comes back in. He went out to pump some gas, and he comes back in. He goes, where were you a minute ago? And he looks and the boy's thinking, like, my dad told me you never lie.
Yeah.
Right.
So another valuable
valuable thing. But so the kid tells him, listen, I've been sitting right here reading stories the whole time, reading this comic book. And so he lied, but he didn't want to get in trouble for being in the back. But that whole part came to me when I was writing one morning. I never even thought about that to add it into a book. It just it all happened.
Yeah.
I was inspired that morning that I was writing, that whole scene just came to me. And that's the way a lot of stuff does for me. It works for me. I don't know why.
That's great though. I mean, if it works for you, then you're able to tap into that creative part of your brain that's sort of like an autopilot that you can depend on to get you from, because it sounds like you know that you're going from A to B, but the road to get there is where you do that pantser thing.
Yes. And I mean, sometimes I'll have like 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 ideas that I want to put into a book.
Right.
And there's other things that end up in the book that were never intended to be there.
Yeah.
And it was just like in the first book, we would go over and take the rafts, the styrofoam pieces and float down the river. That I incorporated in. That was never really.
Yeah.
I had a note that maybe we should have a rafting trip.
Right.
There was 2 or 3 other items that, and I don't want to give anything away about Jimmy's Curse, but I wanted to write a story about like a gatekeeper who monitored a cemetery.
Oh, wow. That's pretty spooky.
Yeah, it is.
And it was kind of like an idea, and I had a lot of notes written about this. And when I was writing Jimmy's Curse, I was like, maybe I could just put that into this story somehow and do the final scenes and stuff in a cemetery.
Yeah.
And so sometimes 2 or 3 different book ideas mesh together to become one final product.
That's why it's important to get those notes written down. It's written down.
Everywhere I go, I try to carry this little black notebook. I found it there at Walmart. They're like $1.50, and
hopefully you're filling a lot of them up, right?
Yeah. And I mean, this one here is like, I just recently had to put a new tablet in it. So that's a good thing for me. Well, and like when I'm writing, sometimes I don't even know where my story's going.
Yeah.
One minute you think you're going to go down this certain alley, and the next thing you know, you're not.
Right.
Yeah.
You've gone 180 degrees in the opposite direction.
But I think that makes it very interesting for readers, because there's no way a reader can tell what's going to happen if the writer didn't know what was going to happen when they were writing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, and the only advice I can give to anybody, write your story.
Yes.
Because, when the editing process starts, when I turn my work over to an editor, let me back up just a minute. When I'm done, I've written my manuscript, I'm done, I'm happy. I take the time to do it chapter by chapter. I will look at it. I will study it, read it, rewrite it. I print it, and then I reread it in print because it looks different on paper.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely does. And then when I'm done with and happy with that chapter, I print them off. I give them to my wife. And then
who's your first editor, right?
She's the first line of editing for me.
I know that job.
She comes back with ideas, things I never thought of. But then when you finally get everything done the way you're really happy with it, and you send it off to your professional editor, that's when it gets real serious. When they come back and you get that first analysis, they do a chapter by chapter breakdown, and they sit and they tell you, I like this, I like that, that was great, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And maybe you loved that thing, and they're like, no.
Or can you tell me more about this? You had to be going here. There's a scene that happens in Lizardville, the ghost story in the first book, that they're like, you need to elaborate a lot more on that. You really had me going there. I need more detail.
Yes.
I need you we really got to milk this scene.
Yes.
So I had to go back and come up with a lot more content.
Sounds like a good editor.
But yeah, that's what they do. That's what they get paid for.
Yeah.
Like, together, I work with Sylvia Curry, and this is the second book we've done together. Actually, the third book we've done together. And she's fantastic, and I love her to death because she takes my work and, like, to me, what is crap, and turns it into something great.
Yeah.
So, wow. What a compliment.
Well, and okay, now you say that, and I think all authors do that to themselves. They're like, it could be better. You know what I mean?
I know I do.
And that's what editors are for.
Yep.
They're polishing your great story. I mean, your story's great, right? So they're just polishing up and adding more of maybe what a reader would want.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy with what I've written. I mean, they're not crap, but
you always go back and see how you could do things better, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Authors are like the worst critics. So you shouldn't even go back and read your book. I decided.
That's why when
the
you
next
said
book, he's not allowed. Dan, you're not allowed to read the next book that you write because I'm like, it's great. What are you saying that it needs to be? Mean to yourself.
But you know what? When it's done, I feel super confident in it, almost maybe overly confident in it. But I am that when you mentioned the process of like printing it, I could never do that because reading the print, I would be scratching all over it with a pen, and then I'd have to go back again. And then I don't think I would ever be, because even now when I read either one of my novels, the second one, not as much, because I think we all get better at our art the more we do it. But even that one, even though I'm not as much as the first one, I still read a chapter and go, or a paragraph and go, I could have worded that better if I would have said it this way. And, that kind of thing. I'm always doing that. But what's funny is I never do that to other authors. I never read another author's book and go, they should have wrote this different. I'm just absorbing the story. I'm not analyzing the art.
Yeah, but your own is different. I mean, it's like any artist, I think.
Yeah.
A painter or a musician. I think you're always critiquing yourself.
It could be. Well, it sounds like you've got a good process, though.
It's been 7 years in the works, and yes, I think we finally got it. I'm very happy with the new publishing company we're working with. Their art, everything's fantastic.
Yeah, the artwork is really good. Did you see it?
Yeah. The quality of the book.
Is
amazing.
Amazing.
It's fantastic.
And look at the hard copy. I want you to get the hard copy.
I know, that's so great.
It.
I do too.
But one thing I do want to mention about Lizardville, the ghost story, one of the best days of my life. I entered a contest on Story Monsters, Inc.
Okay.
It's a magazine.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a Purple Dragon Book Awards.
Right.
And it's for young adult and children's books. So I had entered this contest.
Where'd you find this, online or something?
Yeah, I stumbled across it online. So I think Jamie Ingle, actually, she's a writer from Melbourne, Florida.
Right.
And I've worked with her in the past a few times.
I know Jamie, yep.
Yeah, and she's great. But she had mentioned it, and I looked into it, and I entered this book contest. And I got a notification several months later, and they said, congratulations, you're one of the winners.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I clicked on the link to look, and, I started at the bottom. I scrolled right from number one. I scrolled right down to the bottom, like, okay, honorable mention. I'm not here.
Right.
I looked at number 3, and I'm like, where am I? And
I know
I
this
looked
is
at number
going.
2, and then I looked back, and I'm like, I won.
Wow.
You started all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, and I scrolled right past my name. I had won first place, young adult fiction book for them for the year.
Wow.
And what I really found fascinating about that contest, and what I really liked about it, there's a group of adults. The adults scan the books, they read them to make sure that they're quality stories, they make sure that they meet, industry standards and the whole 9 yards. And then they pick like the top 10 or 12 books that they like, and they give them to the kids.
I love it.
I do too, because there is no
That's
better
the real
critic.
audience right there.
There is no better critic than a kid.
Yeah, and I'm not sure whether it's 12 kids, 20 kids, or whatever, but they have a cast of kids, and they pass all the books to the kids, and the kids vote. So the kids voted on Lizardville, the Goat Story as their number one story. And I was taken back.
Yeah,
I came out.
Because that's your audience.
I came out here, that day.
Were you crying?
Yes, I was.
I knew it. I knew it.
I come out, my wife's looking at me like, what are you okay? I'm like, I won first place.
He had his moment in there, and he couldn't hide it,
I love it.
Oh, that is amazing
That's
story.
a great story
congratulations.
for us to end on.
That's great.
That's fantastic. Wow.
Well, thank you so much, Steve. What a great interview.
Really, it was a pleasure.
Lots of great information for people that maybe want to become an author.
Yes.
I mean, just knowing what other authors' processes are and the success that you can have if you just keep at it. Really.
Yeah. So can you tell us where we can find you, where people can find you on website, Amazon? We'll also put the links in the show description, but just Amazon, your own website, things of that nature.
I have my own website. It's www.stevealtier.com. We have all the books that are available for sale there. If you want to, order a personalized copy, you can sign up for my newsletter. I do a monthly newsletter now that goes out the first day of every month. I also have an Amazon page, the Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. I'm on all of them. All the links are on my website. Yeah.
Excellent. Goodreads, you're on that as well, I know.
All right. And once again, June 11th, Lizardville, Jimmy's Curse comes out.
Right.
It's official, right? Did I say it right?
Yes.
June 11th?
Yes.
Okay, I got it right. I have a memory.
That's great.
All right, Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right.
Same here. It has. Thank you. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back. Thank you so much to Steve again for a great interview with lots of great information.
It was so fun.
It was so fun.
He's a trip.
He is a fun guy. He is a fun guy.
He really is.
That was worth the trip to Tampa.
It was, yes. It was really fun. He and his wife Tony are great.
Oh gosh.
So guys don't know.
They have 4 cats that are amazing.
They do. And what you guys don't know is that we were there for an hour-long interview, and we were there for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
just chit-chatting. It was great.
They were great.
Great. So it's time. Everybody knows they want to hear it. For the information station.
I'm going to learn how to say it like that.
I sing my words.
I'm literally going to put an effect on that so it's like echoey.
Literally goes with our theme of the month, by the way. So we have some interesting and some strange facts today about how reading actually affects the brain. Because, we got to have some science, some kind of health-minded stuff around it,
Of course. And the idea behind the information station is to provide value to those of you that are listening. And, we talk about a lot of stuff, but to be able to find links to it or actual information to it is super helpful, because if this particular topic interests you, then to me, this is digestible information that you can actually do something with.
Yeah, and it's also something, it's nice sometimes to just go somewhere where somebody else has kind of done the research and just go ding, and it takes you right to it.
I agree. I love that. That's why I put links in the show notes for all this stuff.
Because we don't always just, we actually do a little research on this. We don't just click on the very first thing that we see.
Oh, yes.
I like to find stuff that has more evidence-based stuff because of being in school.
Of course.
So that things that have had studies and stuff like that.
I love that.
And you like very science-based stuff. So
I do. And I'm a research nut. I know we've mentioned before, but I'm one of these people that's probably annoying on Facebook, because when I see the post about something that is totally not true.
You are totally annoying.
I know. But then I have to post a link actually, because I don't know. I feel like
you want people to have the facts.
You know what I feel like? I feel like misinformation makes us all collectively a little less intelligent, honestly. I feel like the spreading of misinformation, which we've all done, myself included, years past, we get further away from understanding things the way that we really should, and it's so easy now to do that. So anyway, I wanted to talk a little more about these sort of strange facts as it relates to your brain. And interesting, not all of them are strange, but have you ever felt so connected to a story when you're reading that you almost feel like you've experienced it yourself in real life?
I actually have.
Me too, especially if it's a good book. Well, what's interesting about this is that when we read, the brain doesn't really make a distinction between reading and the experience having actually happened, or that you may have actually lived it. Whether you're reading or you've actually experienced it yourself, the same neurological regions of your brain are stimulated, that's pretty crazy to me.
That's very cool.
It is cool, isn't it? It's almost like...
it's maybe why people kind of get addicted to reading almost. Like you're in another world. It's like an adventure or a journey every time you read a book. And that's kind of what they say about it.
I know, I agree. And maybe that's not my speed, but I know it's probably the most popular reading, like romance novels and stuff. But if you consider
fiction books are the highest.
Well, fiction, but what type of fiction? So romance novels are more popular than any of them. And although that's not necessarily, those aren't the books I read. You know me, I'm not much of a romance guy. But hey,
don't let him fool you.
That's whatever. But the brain, if your brain kind of blurs the line between whether you've experienced or not, it would also explain why those are so popular. So anyway, I thought that was super interesting. Also interesting to me is that the more that you read, the more that your brain is able to adapt to what's sort of referred to as like the beginning, middle, and end story structure. And what's interesting about this is learning to sort of instill in your brain how story structure works. It actually embeds into your brain the ability to expand your attention span or your attention capacity when someone is telling you a story throughout life.
Be great for kids.
Well, that's exactly what's neat, is because when neuroscience has done studies on this, and this is why it's so important for parents to encourage their kids to read as much as possible when your brain is sort of in those formative years and your brain has more what's referred to as plasticity, where things are starting to become a little more hardwired. Now, we've learned recently in science that it's never fully hardwired. You can reroute your brain, and scientists have learned things like
plasticity.
They've learned, like, if you used to be if you were in an injury and a certain part of your brain was removed, even from like a car accident or something, they used to think, well, we know this section of the brain controls this section of the body, so you're tough luck, you're never going to move that hand again. But what they've learned since then is that through practice and sort of like physical therapy, but for your brain, you can rewire another section of your brain to take over and move that hand. So similarly, you can do that with reading, but it's a lot easier in the formative years when your brain is sort of developing those neural pathways, those initial roadways that kind of tell it what does what.
It's making a map basically,
right.
and it it's like Google Maps. It
that's
remembers
exactly right.
when you click home.
Yep.
It remembers that's where you're going to go.
That's exactly
kind
right.
of the same way.
So in that same sort of way, the more that you can encourage your kids to read when they're younger, the more those pathways are developing about sort of beginning, middle, and end story structure. And it's not just for reading stories, but beginning, middle, and end story structure that's the fundamental thing of anything you ever hear about anything that really happens in life.
Yeah.
That where you're reading history books, all of that. So I found that interesting
And this is physical reading. This is not like listening to an audible book. This is the act of reading.
It is the act of reading, but believe it or not, some of the other research I did, which I didn't really put in the show for today, was that listening to audible books has very similar effects on your brain as reading itself.
See, I wouldn't think. Well, maybe yes, because like we're going to talk about reading to others. Mm-hmm. So maybe, that's that.
It really does. And what's interesting about hearing someone else read is this is whether you're reading or hearing it yourself. I didn't put this in the show either, but your brain automatically creates a picture image of the thing that you're either being read to or that you're reading yourself. And when they've
it's definitely firing up.
It really does. And when researchers have done tests on this, where they've tested things like you already know what an umbrella with yellow dots, a pink umbrella with yellow dots looks like. Mm-hmm. So if I pulled up two pictures, one in each hand, and said, fast as you can, which one is the umbrella with purple with yellow dots or pink with yellow dots? You could pick it pretty quickly. But if you read about it beforehand, you can pick it even quicker when they got to that card, because it's almost like your brain pre-built the picture in its head and it's already seen it. So it's easier and faster to pick. So
very cool. Very cool.
I don't know if that was a good analogy, but it was an interesting read. That
great information for parents, though, to
it really is.
Know that how it can help. Probably you talked about figuring out the beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
That's a problem-solving technique for the world, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if this happens, that possibly this is going to happen, and then this was the outcome. That could even go into problem-solving. So,
that's true. That's true.
If you apply it kind of like that.
So you're expanding the capacity of your attention span, you're increasing your problem-solving skills, and really that helps everyone with every job that you ever have.
Yeah.
And so one last little point is reading changes your brain structure, actually, for the better. And this is kind of something for adults that have a low reading level or struggle with reading. Poor readers at any age really can be, unless you've got like some sort of neurological issue, but poor readers can be trained to become better readers at any time in life. And in this training, they've found your brains actually change. In a 6-month daily reading program from Carnegie Mellon, where they did this study, scientists discovered that the volume of white matter in the language area of your brain increases.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
So there's huge value in learning to read better at any given age.
And it doesn't matter where you start.
It really doesn't. And it doesn't matter what you read.
And, somebody who can't read very well is probably very self-conscious about that.
Yeah.
But there's programs out there that are made just for helping people that want to improve in this area. And so there's no need to be self-conscious about it. There's people wanting to help you with this. So,
and I don't want to say you shouldn't be self-conscious, even though you shouldn't, because I know it's probably hard not to be, and we all get sort of self-conscious of the things that we're not so good at. But I agree with you.
You can't control what happened in your, usually that starts in childhood.
And you can't control that.
And you can't control that.
Right.
But if you're an adult, you can do something about it now.
Right.
So, take the steps.
Yes,
that's what I
indeed.
say. It's only going to make you better.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
So I did a little research too, and mine was kind of along those same lines about the cognitive functions.
Right.
But I actually read that reading novels in particular,
yep,
it was linked to engaging multiple areas of the brain, kind of like you talked about,
right,
and it improved the connections between those areas. So the same kind of pathways.
Sure.
And of course, certain areas of the brain were lit up or changed when novels were read.
Yeah.
So there was a study done with 21 undergraduates.
Right.
MRIs were actually taken of their brains in the morning before they read the novel, and they were assigned to read this novel at night before bed for 9 days in a row. And then they did MRIs the next morning after they read. And what it found was that they actually had heightened connectivity in specific areas of the brain.
Yep.
Three or four in particular. And the first one was the language and comprehension area of the brain.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Of course.
So that was affected. Sensation and movement was affected, which I thought was interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I would have never thought that. And another area that I thought was really cool was the area that's responsible for theory of mind and also for the ability to be more compassionate or have more empathy for others was affected.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, so it was really, it really showed that reading novels in particularly enables you to put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm sure that would be the same for like a biography, reading about somebody, or, you're really putting yourself in that person's shoes.
Yeah, probably more so, I would think, with biography.
With a biography.
Yeah.
But I mean, this study was done on novels.
That's
so
great.
In particularly fiction. It was like a thriller book that they were reading.
That's exciting. So my favorites. But you know what that makes me want to do? Maybe for the next episode this month, I would like to look into where reading originated.
Oh, yeah. We'll do a little history lesson maybe
because it's so good for your brain, and it just makes
what civilizations were more advanced because they created reading and writing, or
it makes me wonder, because it almost seems like
the Egyptians definitely with the hieroglyphics and
I know Mayans were big into documenting a lot of stuff, but I don't want to jump out of it because I could be so far away from what really...
We'll save that for some more research.
Yeah, for sure. But it does make me wonder, with it being so good for your brain at every age and it being sort of a man-made thing, how did we get the sort of development of our biology connected to something we invented? That's interesting to me. So...
Well, we can even go into, because we're talking about how the science behind how many areas of the brain start kind of lighting up when you're reading.
Yep.
That could have been the increase of our brain's development.
Oh, that's true.
Right? Starting to practice that. But I thought with this especially goes along with what we're talking about every month is giving back, helping more people. Reading can actually help you have empathy for people.
Yeah.
So it may motivate you to make a real impact on those in your community, others around you, and just #help more people. Right.
That's awesome. You know what though? That to me is probably the biggest value of reading.
Yeah.
You think about it, because that you could conceivably and scientifically then connect that reading is actually a pathway to be helping your community and which I never would have thought of before.
So we're talking about kids, and starting young with them on learning how to have sympathy and compassion for others.
Yep.
Why not pick up a book, like the books that Steve wrote for kids, the younger kids' age.
Of course.
That really, they focus on like a little bit of a struggle that the kids are having. His first one.
At a kid level. Yeah.
At a kid level.
Yeah. I think the first book is about moving on Christmas.
Yeah. So something all kids could
be terrified
of. And it kind of helps just put them in somebody else's shoes, because that's what reading does.
That's exactly. Yeah,
right.
That's great.
So start them young at maybe picking out books that teach a valuable lesson, which is something else Steve does in his books.
Yeah.
Tries to teach a moral or a valuable lesson that they can, apply to their life. So
he does that in the teen level books too, which is very cool.
Yeah, which I love.
So, all this talk about this really has me wanting to commit to read daily. I mean, honestly, from the conversation with Steve to now, us talking about it. So I'm going to try to make a commitment. I get in the bed at night, especially after a 10 or 12 hour workday. And I have a tendency to do what I just said, go through social media or play a game or do a YouTube wormhole. So I am going to try to make a concerted effort.
Well, we used to do that.
To read, I know.
We used to sit in bed and we'd work on, at night, now we kind of just lay there and drift off. But we would try to come into bed a little early and then read.
So I'm going to do that. I'm going to charge both of our Kindles up.
So are you going to read for pleasure or for brain power? I guess they both give you brain power, so I don't want to say that. But what are you going to lead?
I am going to read novels or biographies because that is my favorite. Thriller, that's what I write, and that's what my favorites are. I'm going to read probably that kind of thing. I miss reading, and I think I'm guilty because I'm a writer of anytime I have to read, I'm like, well, I should be writing.
You talked about that in the interview. Yeah.
I know, but Steve got me thinking he does both. He commits to do both more often than I do either. And I know we all have a lot going on, but I'm going to try to make a committed effort to read daily. And following my upcoming book signing, I am going to then commit to write daily as well. So, but especially
even
the reading.
If it's an hour of each a day.
Yeah.
Hour in the morning, hour at night. Yeah. I mean, when we break it down like that, it doesn't seem like it seems doable.
It really does. And even if it's a half hour, I'm going to try for an hour. But anyway, on that note.
Okay, I'm not going to commit to the reading anything for pleasure because I do have my final
stuff. Yeah.
So But I already told you I have 2 hours dedicated every day to reading and research and getting that in order.
So if you're doing any of that in the evening, then I will dedicate that time for me to do my own just reading for fun or whatever. And I read a lot every day, but it's more in bite-sized chunks about technology or what's going on in the world or whatever. So I want to just sit down and start reading.
You're going above and beyond that even.
Yeah.
Okay.
But just for that commitment, I also am asking you guys that are listening here, I struggle to find a good novel. And it's not that there aren't a lot of them out there, but I'm a fan of thrillers, fiction, and some of my favorite stories, which not all these are books, but some of my favorite stories are like Memento, one of my favorite movies ever. Fight Club is my favorite bookend movie ever, as I think we mentioned. Before I Go to Sleep was a favorite. The Girl on the Train was a favorite. So if you guys have recommendations for me for thrillers that you recommend, please call or email us because
have you read Gone Girl? Because that movie was so great.
Well, no, I didn't. I saw the movie. As we also established another one. I don't know why, but I cannot read a book after I saw the movie. I just can't. I already know what's going to happen.
And I'm the opposite. I know. The movie intrigues me to read the book.
I'm jealous, but I only read to find out what's going to happen. And that's the thing.
Gives it away.
So if you have suggestions for me or Anjee, but she's not got time to read for fun.
But Anjee likes teenage reads. I like teen reads and like dystopia, futuristic kind of novels. Yeah.
Well,
usually
I want to start.
Series is what I like.
I want to start right away. And sadly, you have to, well, not really sadly, but you have to focus on schoolwork and stuff. Yeah. I don't when I go to bed at night. So the sooner you guys can help me out, the better. Because what happens is I get my Kindle out, I go to the bookstore and I scroll and I read the synopsis and I try a sample and I do that for a week and then I give up.
So also feedback on that, guys. How important is the cover and the synopsis to you when picking out a book?
Oh, that's a good one.
Because Dan, is a writer and, you struggle with that because his books, you don't want to give too much away in the synopsis, but you want to give just enough to, I want to read that. Yes. So what is it that you look for when you're looking for a good read? Give us idea. What do you look for? Is it the title? Is it the title that draws you in? Is it the artwork? Or is it the synopsis? Like, what is it? Is it how thick it is?
Yeah.
That's how
and everything that I have read or friends that have gone to these book fairs or these authors group whatever you call them, workshops or whatever, the consensus is number one is the cover. Number two, so everyone's first draw is the cover, which as a reader, I agree. And two is the synopsis on the back or the blurb.
Then you flip it over if you're interested in the cover.
Right. And I know we're running long here, but we'll sort of buzz through the end of it in a speed run here on the closer where links and stuff. But I did want to say for my first novel, In the Dark, which again, I've gotten 100% positive feedback. It's been universally enjoyed by those that have read it or listened to it on Audible. But I have gotten feedback, even in some of the book signings I've gone to for it, where people have said, if someone didn't tell me about this book, I wouldn't have read it because of the cover. Now, the cover is amazing. One of my good friends, an amazing artist, drew it for me. He followed my instructions. It's an amazing work of art. I have it framed on the wall behind me right now. I love it. I love it. So it's not about that, but it's about the connection to the story. And it looks almost like a sci-fi scary thing from the cover, which is what I wanted. But then people have read it and told me, yeah, that's not what it's not what I would have gotten.
Everybody's perception is different.
It is, but you want to try to be as universal as possible with the cover. And what I've seen and noticed is that for a lot of fantasy stuff, very detailed covers. For a lot of thriller stuff, very basic covers. And I write thrillers, so I'm considering some cover changes for both of my books. I'm considering some changes to the description on the back. I would love to get feedback from you guys on that, especially those of you that may have read my books or may go read them. I love to get feedback from people across the board.
Honest feedback is the best. That's how you improve.
All right, guys. So we're going to roll it up. Again, we want to hear from you. 407-490-3899 or feedback at fineandangie.com. Anything you want to chat about, anything we already talked about.
Yeah. Social media, Fine and Dangie. Find us there. And please rate, review, and subscribe if you haven't already.
Don't forget about that contest.
Yeah. You can listen anytime to the podcast and enter that contest and share us with your friends if you like us.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. We love doing it. And remember, as always, at the end of the day, it's all fine and dandy.
You did.